answers, I change the questions. It's me, Austin!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Yeah! Can he do it? Collar! Oh, and a kick out! Unbelievable!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available totally free to all Facebook users. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like my buddy John down there in Texas. John, always love talking to you. Make sure you give us a stop over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. We have loyalty rewards. $15 a month contributors, you get to co-host a live episode with myself. $7.50 a month contributors, you also get entered into a drawing to co-host an episode with myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want us to talk about in a future episode, drop us a line at the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160, and we will get to those questions, comments, or concerns in a future episode. In the meantime, lots of conversation going on in the world of professional wrestling today. A lot of things that people want to talk about in terms of WWE recently talking about the possible return of Bo Dallas, the brother of the late Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotundo, possibly coming back to bring back the Uncle Howdy character that he brought out last year, right around this time, for Bray Wyatt's big return to WWE. And unfortunately, if you are someone who follows the Dave Meltzer's reporting on Wrestling Observer Radio, he is of the impression, and as a matter of fact, I have a quote here for him. It says, the only reason he was even being used was as a favor to Bray Wyatt. I mean, it's possible they'll use him, but I don't expect him to be back. Somewhat concerning to me because, you know, I remember back in the day when they would talk about wrestlers that they had invested time, money, and effort into, gimmicks and whatnot that they had done things with, that oftentimes one of the make or break decisions about whether or not to invest in a character, bringing a character back to the company or whatnot, was whether or not they had made that investment. Well, they've put a lot of time into Bray Wyatt. They put a lot of time into building Uncle Howdy last year, and I think that there is an opportunity there that if they chose to, they could easily really bring something special in honor of Bray Wyatt to the WWE audience. If they truly are not planning to do that, that to me, that's really a shame. It's a missed opportunity, and it's not because there's no opportunity for like the same quality of wrestling. Something that Bo Dallas has always been credited with is being a fantastic hand in the ring. He's supremely talented athletically. There's nothing holding back his in-ring skill. So that's not a factor. It is purely about whether or not they want to push forward with this particular character. And I think when you come out of the tragedy that is the loss of Bray Wyatt, it would be a beautiful opportunity to both create a star in Bo Dallas coming in as Uncle Howdy or some other character that would honor Bray's memory. But also just that, you know, helping out the memory of such an incredible character and really doing it a service. You know, there are some times when they bring back characters, they show storylines they've done in the past and things of that nature. It's not something that they've done well. Think about things like the Rockers, when they came out with the new Rockers and they had Al Snow portrayed as Leif Cassidy. Not a good look, not a good idea. Some people hated when they put Jimmy Jam Garvin into the Freebirds and replacing Buddy Jack Roberts and Terry Gordy and things of that nature. When you recreate something, it's not always a beautiful process. When the talents themselves had different stylistic views to begin with. But in this situation, Bo Dallas being literally the brother of Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, I feel like there would be such a genuine opportunity to be able to foster something, to make it special, make it beautiful. And it really seems like they're missing the boat. But not something that it sounds like they're moving forward with. And that's a little concerning to me. I think that's something that they really are missing out on. Hopefully at some point they give him an opportunity to get back into the company and really contribute in some way. But sometimes, I mean, maybe it's just a lack of feel for the angle. Maybe they don't want to go down that route. Maybe they think it's too dark to go down that route. I think the fans in 2023 are evolved enough that they could see through really trashy, second-rate presentations. I think this would be very authentic, and I think it's something that Bo Dallas could sink his teeth into and really make a go of. But unfortunately, it sounds like, at least if you go by what Dave Meltzer is saying, that maybe, just maybe, that's not going to happen. Going to move on to Ric Flair. He made an appearance on The Breakfast Club, which is it's a interview he did on you can look him up on their YouTube channel, talking about his earnings. Nowadays with Ric Flair, with the Ric Flair drip and all the other endeavors, the woo wings and everything else, if you listen to any of his podcast episodes or anything like that, the guy endorses a million things at this point, cannabis, whatnot. He is doing incredibly well financially, but when talking about his professional wrestling career, he made a statement that for a full year, $800,000 was the most he ever made in one night, in 1 year as a professional wrestler. Now he's talking about how he makes twice that easily, which is interesting. Later in the interview, he talked about how he was looking at about $500,000 a year when he was running around as the world champion, which in the mid 80s, let's be honest. I mean, nowadays that's still good money. Back in the 80s, that was even more money. You could see how he could get into that lavish lifestyle he's always brought about on television because of that kind of money. Certainly not at the level of people like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, John Cena, Brock Lesnar nowadays, but still great money. It's interesting to me that with all that time invested in this business, for all the years he was in it, he is only now making the kind of money that he's making through all these other endorsements. But great for him. Always a huge fan of Flair's, and hopefully we see more products and services come about with his name attached to them. But I just found it really interesting that $800,000, even when he was in WWE as WWE champion, 1991, and things of that nature, going in and main eventing WrestleMania against Randy Savage and appearing at SummerSlam that year and Survivor Series, still only $800,000 is somewhat shocking to me. Especially when you think about the kind of money that was being thrown around at the end of WCW with people like Hall, Nash, Hogan, Bret Hart, people coming in making millions and millions of dollars. And here, the stalwart of that promotion, Ric Flair, never really getting to that level. That's just shocking to me. Other WWE news, Natalya having a conversation on the Insight podcast, discussing her career, and the big quote that I feel like coming out of that is that she says she feels too good to retire. I think what's interesting about that is that it means that the conversation has been had. I think part of the reason is she's sticking around. She made a conversation. She says, the quote is, "I just feel so good." That's the crazy thing, is that people always say, "Oh, when are you going to wrap it up? When is it going to be done?" It's like, listen, this is Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Once you do this, I'm a wrestler through and through, and it'll never, ever, 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 ever leave me, ever. It's a community, it's a family, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life, and it doesn't mean that I'll be competing forever, but it's like, when I saw Rey Mysterio, I was watching him in a match, I was at a live show, and I went into the crowd and put a hat on and watched him, and I was incognito, and I watched Rey perform live. It was in Mexico, and he was wrestling Roman Reigns, and I was just like, Rey is almost 50, and he's doing the best work of his career. He's so inspiring. His gear, his look, his energy, his vibe, his ability to move around, to make people feel something. And granted, he was there with one of the greatest of all time, Roman, but Rey is one of the greatest of all times. He just inspires me so much. And like I'm not close to being done when I look at when I look like what Rey's doing. I like Rey, inspires me to want to do so much more and to also help people, because you look at who Rey's worked with and how much he's helped people out. Even with Santos right now, I look up to so much to Rey and what he's done. So that what I get out of that is the conversation clearly has come up, but she's not looking at this anytime soon, and she really does draw on the experiences of all these other legends that have found these almost revitalizations of their careers later on in their experience in WWE and elsewhere. So great for her. Hope she keeps doing it. I know she has all these accolades and records for most televised and pay-per-view matches and wrestling overseas, all these things, and it doesn't look like those numbers are going to slow down anytime soon. Somebody who may be slowing down their time at another organization, possibly coming back to WWE, would be Mickie James after her husband, Nick Aldis, being announced as the SmackDown general manager. She was very happy, tweeting all sorts of positive things about her husband online, which I love to see. But then word came out that there may be plans in the works for Mickie to come back. And the reason she would come back is that WWE has an interest in potentially having a husband and wife duo be the general managers of the SmackDown brand, which would be very unique. I want to say unique because I guess like Triple H and Stephanie kind of filled that role previously, but they would, let's be honest, we have all known from the beginning they're married to the business. That's a little different. The reality is this would be very different, and this would actually, I think, help Aldis get over better with the WWE audience. Because let's be honest, for those of you who are listening to this show, if you listen to this show, you're a big fan of wrestling. You know who Nick Aldis is. You knew him all the way back when he was Magnus. You knew when he came back when they brought back American Gladiators or Gladiators in overseas and whatnot. I get that, but there are a large segment of the audience that has no idea who Nick Aldis is. They don't know about his beautiful NWA World Heavyweight Championship run. They don't know about his matches with Cody on the independent scene when Cody won the NWA Championship at All In and that kind of thing. They don't know about those things. So with that being said, I think and let's be honest, Nick Aldis, 36 years old. He's younger than Roman Reigns, Cody, Seth Rollins, all those guys. So there's no reason to think that he couldn't be an in-ring talent. I'm actually kind of shocked he's not already, but perhaps that this is leading to something that could be a little better. So we'll have to see. I hope they do get him in the ring at some point. I think it would be a great addition to their programming. Moving on, last tidbit of WWE news for the night. Logan Paul clearly returning to WWE. They made it very clear that when he finished up his boxing match over the weekend with Dylan Dennis, that he wants to challenge Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. It's been advertised that he will return on SmackDown this week in San Antonio, Texas. He was also advertised to be appearing next week on Raw. I don't know if they're announcing him at both locations just to build the interest in the shows and put on some more viewers. Kind of weird if he's challenging for a championship, he's defended on SmackDown, that he would be on Raw, but whatever. I guess he's free to move between brands as much as he'd like. So I actually would love to see him win the United States Championship. I think he has done far better than anybody expected from a celebrity performing in WWE, and I think he deserves an opportunity to have a piece of gold. And I think it would add some prestige to the title to have somebody unconventional wear that belt, and without giving him a world championship. I don't think that's something they should do yet. Even though he had that match with Roman Reigns and he was able to hang with him on a high level, I wouldn't necessarily give him that because of where we're at. And I certainly don't want him beating Seth Rollins right now because he's in the middle of making that belt relevant. Perhaps an Intercontinental Championship. Can you really see Logan Paul being the one to end Gunther's streak? I don't think so. So that leaves us with Rey Mysterio, who really, let's be honest, his legacy doesn't get tarnished all that much if he loses the United States Championship to Logan Paul. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but I think this could be a good thing for all parties involved. And the last tidbit of the night, AAA and CMLL, both Mexican promotions, and never really being that tight. There's bad blood there, always has been, probably always will be. But AEW developing a relationship with both, and that is not something that usually happens. CMLL tends to work with certain organizations. AAA usually works with other organizations, but this week we're going to see Mystico, who used to be Sin Cara, the original Sin Cara in WWE, is going to be coming to Rampage to take on Rocky Romero. That's unconventional because it's a CMLL wrestler and a AEW wrestler, and AEW has a strong working relationship with AAA. Dave Meltzer, again, on his show, talking about how this is the beginning of a relationship. Guys won't be able to work in the same match, meaning AAA and CMLL guys. That's not going to happen, but they're probably going to have guys on the same card, which CMLL hates that. He says, I think AAA will live with that, and AAA is not going to do anything to jeopardize a relationship with AEW anyway. So I think that what you're looking at is people like Andrade, Phoenix, they can't get in the ring with Mystico because they're AAA affiliated, whereas Mystico is CMLL. But as long as they're not in the same match, I think that CMLL appreciates the exposure that they're going to get from this new working arrangement. I think that's a good thing. And hopefully it leads to more interesting booking down the road so we can see some interesting first-time matchups we've never seen from CMLL talent in North America. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for any music or sound we use in our show. Today's show, sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with the game Sketchy People. Showcase your artistic side of this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And until next time, take care. Have a great night.